We are from a lineage of great men. We are the sons of the Anglo-Saxons, the Celts, the Indo-European warriors who rode out of the steppe with steel in their hands and honour in their hearts. This is the blood of Alfred the Great, who rose from the swamps of Athelney, exiled and outnumbered and crushed the Viking armies in the greatest comeback in English history. We are the heirs of the men who built the British Empire, who conquered and civilised a quarter of the planet. They didn't ask permission. They took the world and made it speak their language. That is us. That is our DNA. They want us weak, atomised, ashamed of our ancestors. They flood our minds with guilt, strip our history and mock our instincts. They want us to forget what we are. But that ends now. Because honour isn't outdated. Masculinity is sacred. That spirit has not died, it sleeps in every one of us. In the past things were different, and it's time we remembered who we are and what it means to be a man. He rode into battle before the king, went before the king in every danger and peril, and was gifted a sword with the words, "Never part with it except to redeem your own head." A man is not only a fighter, he's generous, noble, skilled, poetic and loyal. Honour is sacred. His sword is not a tool, it is his bond, his fate. Though no sword I brandish, nor bear the shield of battle, still shall my heart not falter, nor fear oppress my soul. A man suffers and he sings through it. He mourns with dignity. He is warrior and poet, rage and honour. Even in grief, he does not collapse. In Culture of Honour, The Psychology of Violence in the South, Richard E. Nisbet and Dov Cohen found that men from honour-based subcultures, particularly in the American South, exhibit marked physiological arousal in response to insults. This included increased cortisol, stress hormone, and testosterone, dominance hormone levels following verbal provocation. These men were more likely to perceive their masculinity as being challenged, more likely to believe that violence was an acceptable response, and more likely to assert dominance in the aftermath. Their studies demonstrated that male honour norms function as status regulation mechanisms, evolved in contexts where legal structures were weak and reputation was vital. Men in the South were not only more physiologically primed for aggression after insult, they were also more likely to interpret ambiguous actions as threats to their reputation. Nisbet and Cohen, 1996. On a neurological level, honour taps into the reward circuitry of the male brain. Functional MRI studies have shown that pro-social behaviours associated with honour, such as sacrifice, loyalty and bravery, activate the ventral striatum, a region associated with pleasure, reward and motivation. The brain responds to acts of honour much like it does to sex or sugar, because evolutionarily it mattered for survival. By contrast, social humiliation, betrayal or ostracism engages the anterior cingulate cortex and right ventral prefrontal cortex, the same neural regions involved in physical pain. Eisenberger, 2012. That's not metaphor. The male brain hurts when it is dishonoured. Social pain such as rejection or humiliation is neurologically similar to physical pain, indicating that maintaining social belonging and moral standing is biologically critical. Finally, in a cross-cultural meta-analysis titled Reputation and Honour in Cross-Cultural Perspective, Current Anthropology 2018, researchers found that honour systems are near universal in warrior and kin-based societies. From Bedouin Arab tribes to the Mongol steppe, Pashtunwali codes in Afghanistan, to the Scottish clan system, moral obligations to avenge insult, protect kin and enforce loyalty are not optional. They are structural pillars of manhood and leadership. Honour codes function as reputation management systems in environments lacking impersonal legal institutions. maintaining group cohesion and deterring exploitation through threat of reciprocal violence. Current Anthropology, 2018. The Sutton Hoo ship burial was discovered in Suffolk in 1939, included a highly ornate sword alongside a full suite of warrior regalia, shield, helmet and mail. Most scholars identify the grave as belonging to Rædwald, king of the East Angles who died around 624 AD. The burial scale, a full ship with grave goods, shows elite, possibly royal status. If the Sutton Hoo burial is indeed his, then it marks not just the death of a king, but the burial of a man who chose honour over treachery. Who was Rædwald? What did he do to deserve honour? Rædwald was king of the East Angles in the early 7th century, ruling roughly from 599 to 624 AD. He is remembered in Bede's ecclesiastical history as a powerful Bretwalder, one of the overlords of Anglo-Saxon England, who held authority over multiple kingdoms. What did he do to deserve honour? He defied Northumbria's overlord. Rædwald refused to hand over Edwin of Deira to King Æthelfrith of Northumbria, who wanted Edwin dead, as he was the legitimate heir to the Deiran throne, and therefore a direct threat to Æthelfrith's rule over a united Northumbria. Æthelfrith attempted to bribe and then threaten Rædwald. According to Bede, he chose to defend Edwin, seeing surrender as dishonourable and unworthy of a king. Instead of betraying a man who had sought his protection, Rædwald gathered his forces and went to war near the River Idle, on the border between Mercia and Lindsey, modern Nottinghamshire. Despite Æthelfrith's reputation as a fierce and seasoned warlord, he was defeated and killed. Rædwald's son, Ragnhir, also died in the battle, a son sacrificed in a hard-fought and costly battle. Æthelfrith was the most dominant king in Britain at the time. Rædwald risked his kingdom to defend someone under his protection. He chose honour over convenience and victory over submission. Rædwald, king of the East Angles, at length yielded neither to threats nor bribes, and having raised an army, marched against Æthelfrith and slew him in battle. So what can we learn from this as men? What are the morals of this story? Honour is worth more than comfort or convenience. Rædwald had every reason to give Edwin up. It would have secured peace, kept his own kingdom safe, and won favour with the most powerful king in Britain. But he didn't. The moral: true honour is tested when it costs you something. Hospitality is sacred. Edwin was a guest under protection, a sacred bond in Germanic and Anglo-Saxon culture. To betray a guest was not just dishonourable, it was a stain on the soul. Protecting the weak, especially those who seek your shelter, that is the duty of a true man. Leadership demands courage, not calculation. Rædwald didn't hedge his bets. He chose confrontation, knowing the risk. His son died in the battle, but he understood that a king who fears death more than dishonour isn't fit to rule. Morale: real leaders bear the cost of moral decisions, even with blood. Moral law outranks political law. Æthelfrith, though powerful, was in the wrong. Rædwald acted according to a deeper law, the warrior's moral code, not politics. Masculinity without principle becomes tyranny. Power must be guided by justice. Tony Blair the Oathbreaker, how a Niding opened the gates of Albion. When Egil Skulason stood before the thing in Bandamanna Saga, he delivered judgment not in coin but in contempt. 13 ounces of silver, scrapings of shields and scraps of rings was the price he placed on the case, the minimum payment in the most worthless currency. When Hermund, one of the wronged men, heard this, he said plainly, "Thou hast betrayed us, Egil." And Egil didn't flinch. He answered, "It likes me well to betray him who trusteth no man, nay, not even himself. This was no hero. This was a man who sold his judgment for influence, who played both sides and who did not deny what he had done, he just justified it. Tony Blair was no different. He knew what would happen when he scrapped the primary purpose rule in 1997. He knew what would follow when he opened the borders in 2004. And when his advisor admitted in 2009 that it had all been a plan, not for economy, but for ideology, the betrayal was confirmed. This was done without consent. It was done with certainty. And like Eagle, there was a reward, a future in Brussels, global contracts, a legacy framed by elites. No swords, no shields, but the scrapings of modern silver. And in the old world, they had a word for a man like that. Nethinger, a coward, an oathbreaker, a man who betrays his people for personal gain. So ask yourself, who are you really? When your people are in danger, do you show up? Or do you hide behind a title and wait for someone else to take the risk? Honour isn't a word, it's what's left of you when comfort is gone, when no one's watching, when the test finally comes. If you are buried tomorrow, what would be placed beside you, a sword or a signature? And that time will come.